Let's talk Amorim rumours, because, I think coming up to this point in the season, we're going to see a lot more of these rumours flying around, especially now that obviously Liverpool seem to have had some issues with recent results, and seeing the end of the Klopp era, the end of this tenure, the way that confidence in the players seems to sometimes be based on the status of the club at the time, and I'll talk about that more in a second. I think people are going to start to look towards who the next manager is, and Amorim seems like a very obvious one. First of all, he's a very clickable name, so we're going to hear a lot about him. If you can get a headline which says Liverpool and Amorim, if you can get a headline that says Liverpool and new coach, you can put him in it, you're very likely to get a lot of clicks. So the difference between pressure building and people actually having stories are two different things. I think it's interesting that Sky Germany are coming out with a lot of these things. I'm not quite sure what Sky Germany have got that Sky England don't have. I mean, maybe they've got insightful people, and maybe Liverpool are trying to put a little pressure through other places. Maybe they're trying to put out certain stories. Maybe certain people are trying to put out certain stories. I just don't the Klopp stuff makes sense if Klopp's going to leave and you get the insight from there. But Amorim's not really got any residing loyalties to Germany. So why we get anything from there, I don't really know. Broadly, I still think Amorim is the leading candidate. Broadly, I still think Amorim is very strong in what he does. I still think he's I still think he's a very strong candidate in the sense that he's different enough to Klopp that works. He's not going to try and do a Klopp impression. His football is going to change enough, but it is going to still be a very strong identity. Probably takes us more in the direction of a City or an Arsenal, which again, we've seen the way that's paid dividends. And I also think it kind of fits in with this current squad and what we're trying to do. Trent wants to move into the midfield, so would a new manager be able to integrate that? Someone like Salah may have to leave and you might have to bring in someone else in that position. Does it play into a Darwin Núñez type strength? Does it mean that Diaz is going to play an even stronger role? Does it mean that we can look for a new fullback, maybe someone who can balance out Bradley on the other side? Or does it mean that we're looking for a new centre-back and we play three at the back, which again, we've seen, thank you very much to Gasperini, is also still a very relevant modern way of playing and is also a really different way of retaining possession, at least on the continent, rather than in the Premier League. We've not really seen it all that much in the Premier League. Obviously, we've seen a couple of managers play variations, and really you could say Liverpool is a variation of a back three at one point with Konate, Van Dijk and Robertson, but not in the way that Amorim plays it. So I'm excited to see all of those things. On top of that, I'm also interested to see if anyone is pushing for a move come the end of the season. I'd imagine there are a couple of people who feel a loyalty to Klopp, or at least feel that they like the vibe around the club with Klopp more than they would with another manager. And some people maybe feel, well, maybe it is time to move on. Maybe with Klopp moving on, I should be going somewhere else. Maybe Liverpool also feel, with Klopp moving on, he plays to their strength. Statistically, Michael Edwards zing it, we might need to move on from this guy. Because here's the thing, right? Previous games, especially looking at the Atalanta game, we see that confidence, focus, the overall dynamic of the team, the overall cohesion is not just down to the fact that these are good players. These good players are going to have bad games, going to have off games. That's always going to happen at big teams. But broadly, Klopp has also added a lot to a lot of their games. And sometimes they have been caught out. Sometimes a manager guesses wrong, sets things up slightly wrong. They give the opposition a weakness you can plunder, and the opposition have just decided to do the right thing at the right time. Gomez and Tsimikas to fill in and squad players, not necessarily starting if Trent and Robertson are always fit. I can't say I blame them for everything, but shape-wise, Liverpool are hugely reliant on that shape. Liverpool are hugely in a team that is adaptable, but also need to know where the other players are, need to know the opposition aren't pressing them in certain ways. They went man-to-man, all these kind of things. We can see, my point is going to land in a second, we can see that Liverpool are moving on. Liverpool have set up a great squad that is very adaptable. They've moved on from being the previous Klopp era of that rock and roll football, the very high pressing, going into the controlling, and now they're into this final era. They're moving on into this final era of Klopp. You could argue they're already there. Point is, though, that's kind of been found out. But what it is showing is some of the players' technical proficiency, some of their technical ability to focus for a long time, all these kind of things. Will a new manager come in, look at that and go, it'll be nothing to do with, hey, you're a Klopp guy, you're not my guy. I think very few managers are going to try and take a head like that or come into Liverpool, because I don't think that broadly suits the footballing culture at Liverpool. I think there's a lot of camaraderie in the dressing room. I think Amorim's probably smarter than that. He seems to have a very good relationship with the players, seems to understand the player-manager dynamics because of where he's come from, because of who he is. And he also brings a lot of success with him. Not necessarily success at the very top level, but he brings something that players can look at and go, hey, I can relate to that. I can understand. We're going to go on to the next level in the same way as you're going to go on to the next level. I'm going to take my game up at the same time as you, or you're going to take your game up, and we're actually going to bring up to our level in terms of club, in terms of billing, in terms of all these things. We're going to change to this new shape, this new idea, and I back it if I'm Van Dijk, or I back it if I'm McAllister, Szoboszlai, Jones, Trent. Whether they move into midfield or not, I think we're probably going to see whether Trent buys into it or not. Final years of his contract, etc., etc. I'm not saying Trent's not professional, but you get what I'm saying, right? Anyway, point is, if I was Liverpool playing and watching this, I'd kind of go, cool, you've like laid out a series of just generalisms. Everyone is speaking in generalisms right now. I'm all for getting sucked into, hey, this manager will be good, this guy will be good, this player will be good in this position. I think that's a really fun exercise. Nothing is news at this point, right? Amorim is Amorim, and he's spoken about being very dedicated to Sporting, said no talks have taken place, which makes perfect sense. Like, there's probably stuff in his contract that says you don't have to be tapped up by other people, but he has also spoken about his desire to leave. He has spoken about his desire to move on, how he feels like he's achieved a lot. And there are people who are even close to him. Abel Javier recently, ex-Liverpool, and also ex-Premier League in general, but ex-Liverpool player, said he finished off his coaching badges with Amorim, sees what a great manager he is, sees that he'll be at the future and forefront of football for quite some time, and so he fits in at Liverpool. That fits the Michael Edwards brief, that also fits the FSG brief, and it also fits what Liverpool players probably want to play with. All of these players have shown adaptability. McAllister, the entire midfield actually, Szoboszlai, Curtis Jones, Stefan Bajcetic will be perfect for that. Trent will be perfect for that. Luis Diaz, Nunes, Gakpo. There's so many players in there. Harvey Elliott. Harvey Elliott is one that I probably should have been top of my list. Point being, it's a very adaptable midfield, a very adaptable engine room for someone like Amorim if he does come in. So the excitement is going to be there. The need for Liverpool to not even up the game, but change their style and have the buy-in of the players is A1 in this period. And I get it. Maybe it means that there are some, academy prospects who are just very talented players in general, but won't be able to make it into the first team immediately because a new coach coming in means the style for the whole club's going to change, and the academy play a very Klopp-centric style. It's going to be very difficult to change that. We're going to have to reassess players, look at what their style is, all these kind of things. And we've actually seen Liverpool move on quite a few players in recent years who haven't necessarily hit the heights. So again, the Klopp system does play into a lot of strengths of a lot of the players we've had come through because they've been trained in that way. How quickly is a new manager going to be able to bed certain people in? How quickly is he going to be able to change his style? When I say bed in, I mean bed in those players into his new system. And how quickly can Amorim work with those players? He seems very good at adapting young, talented players. But that's one thing. Liverpool would have been looking at very different players, not very different players, but very different profiles if they were going for someone like Xabi Alonso. Doesn't mean a whole difference in shape, but I think it does mean a whole difference in who Xabi can attract and who Amorim and Liverpool in general can attract, should we say. So, yeah, there are a lot of variables here. What I'm saying is we know at this point that the headline of Alonso is not going to be there. We know that the headline of Amorim is very much the prevalent one. So expect to see all these headlines throughout the coming weeks. Expect to see, he signed this, no he hasn't. Because guess what? You can say what you want in this period. You can say, hey, Liverpool have had talks with this guy and they've gone really well. And maybe Liverpool want people to know that. Maybe Sporting or Portuguese papers or German papers want there to be some headlines there. They know that if you can attach Klopp to something, if you attach Liverpool to something, people in Germany are going to read it. People in Portugal are going to read it. What we got to be cognizant of is the source. If you're in history class or whatever, then you know this. First, second, and third hand or source, right? What I mean by that is, you basically got, first of all, you got it from the person who actually says it, so Amorim. Secondary, you're going to hear it through someone who's like the club or something like that. And then third was a little bit more removed, so it's not really relevant in football, but it's probably someone at Sky News or something like that making it up, right? I think we have to be ready to grade all of these headlines that we see. Am I excited about the future of Liverpool? Yes. Do I wonder which players are going to stay and which players are going to leave? Who's going to re-sign a contract? Who Edwards wants to prioritise? Yes. But do I think we're going to see any of that between now and What date is it that we're seeing the final game of the season? The 19th of May? No, because that would be insane to me. So yeah, I will speculate on this channel because it is fun. I'm not trying to destabilize anyone. I'm not trying to upset anyone. I'm not trying to say this guy has to be the only lead candidate and the only person who can be Liverpool manager. I think there are some strong candidates out there. I don't think Potter's in it. I don't think we're looking at any other English manager. I think we're looking at Southgate or someone like that. I don't think we're really looking at De Zerbi, to be honest. I just think De Zerbi is probably too Brighton-y and is probably more destined for City. I think we were looking at Alonso. I think we were looking at Amorim. And I think we probably were looking at Nagelsmann. But can we, like, if we get Nagelsmann, if we got someone like that, can we wait a summer to have him in and have him train? Would he be too tired? All these kind of things. Would he want to hit the ground running? There's a lot of questions there. Whereas Amorim, look at him. He's got that swagger. I think he fits in very well. I really enjoyed, by the way, some of the comments below my last video. Shall I go through some of these comments for you? Look, like, I've got some really good ones. Wait. There you go. Not that one. Yeah. Which video was it? Amorim. Not done, I said, was the title. So here are your comments. No way. All fake news, dude. Nothing has changed. Just fake news. I expect Liverpool to compete with this guy and for him to really improve some of the academy players. I don't know what that's based on. I think he has brought a lot of young guys through, but let's see. Just saw on X that he denied having negotiations. I think he did deny it, but that's fair enough. Probably don't want to break some contract terms if you are trying to secretly negotiate with another club. Good to see Jesus finally have Laurence on his channel. Good, thanks for the hair comments. Legit thought I clicked on the wrong video, fair enough. People always talk about dropping, but why can't Liverpool go to another level? Because, I mean, they are at a very high level, but, you know, Amorim is walking into a much better foundation than any of those clubs mentioned before. It's a really good point. There is a good foundation here, but I guess what we don't know is where the true level outside of Klopp comes for a lot of these people and what the foundation will look like if a couple of players did want to leave. So I get it. Like, there are still, you know, we're not going to have an exodus, but I think, you know, a couple of players were attracted by Klopp. And I think some of them will have wanted to be just coached exclusively by him. So I think there's something there. When did Loz turn into Ian Bell? I don't know who that is. Is Loz out sick? Good. Haircut was much needed? Rude. Your hair. I'm not really sure why everyone wants Amorim. We have an abundance of midfielders, but the man plays with two midfielders. Arnold is too talented in the mid to be wasted on the right wing-back role. We're past that. It's a good point. I mean, I've just spoken at length about how these players could fit in because I thought they suit the front line and the back line. But are we really seeing with this abundance of midfielders that we have the best use of them? Or could some of those guys like Szoboszlai, McAllister maybe at a 10, Endo would probably sit deep, Trent a bit more roaming. Maybe I think also it's very easy to say, hey, this is the system this guy plays, this is the system we play, and how we've seen Trent play, how we've seen Szoboszlai play, how we've seen Nunez and Diaz. You know, Nunez didn't exactly play this role exactly as he did at Benfica. Van Dijk was also a very dominant centre-back, but has adapted his game, as has Konate, as has so many people at Liverpool. It's not just about, let's take that cookie cutter and just put it over here. It doesn't work like that. Where's Laurence gone? Very good. Who are you? What have you done with Laurence? Good. Trent is about to get the biggest contract in LFC history. I'd be interested to see if that's the case. Should have been Emery, says someone else. I'm interested to see what some other people think about that. I think at this point it's probably difficult to pry him away from Villa. I'm not against it, but I'm also maybe not for it as top candidate. I think I would rather roll the dice on Amorim. What do you think about, by the way, a buffer manager? Some people saying they think Amorim is a buffer manager. I certainly don't think that. But I do think that Amorim, I mean, similar to AVB, I'm worried about those AVB vibes where you kind of go, look, there's a lot for you to change here. Which of those leaders sort of throw their toys out the pram? Because we saw Hendo and his group were not very happy when Klopp massively changed a lot last season, and they all fell away for that reason. If that was to Klopp, someone they're very loyal with, who, you know, I don't think they had an I don't think they tried to get rid of Klopp, but I do think that it got more difficult. I just wonder what a new manager who no one's got any emotional bias towards would be able to procure from these players, should we put it that way. Wow, Are you just recording from the surface of the sun? Yeah, to be fair, it was pretty hot in the last video. Looking great, but your hair doesn't. Thank you. May or may not work out, but I think we're selecting the right manager. Should that be the headline for the video? Personally, I think Amorim gives us a better job, better chance of coping than not. And I think Michael Edwards gives us the best chance of coping and not. I'm going to be really interested to see what Edwards and anyone underneath him, any of those staff, any of the analytics, I'd be interested to see what our transfer policy is. He did spend big on Van Dijk. He has spent big on some other players. It's not as if he isn't scared of spending money. I think he will have got certain promises and all these kind of things. It's not just going to be about building the other club. I think that's like the bigger signing than any of these managers who, of course, can coach. It's going to be a big cultural change at Liverpool. I just wanted to kind of put those thoughts out there, marinate, maybe get into the Discord, get into the Patreon, take a look at that, and I'll chat to you guys here in a little while. The Patreon, come chat there, or in the Patreon Discord, and then the Discord, just come chat there. It's good to have you guys. I'll see you again real soon right here on the Laurence McKenna channel. Much love.